Put your shoes on, we got a long walk home. And grab your pitchfork and your torch, it's a long dark road. And if you stay close to me, we'll make it through the night. You know the monsters come out when they see the street lights.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of Everyday Voices of the Paranormal. I'm your host, Reverend Jamie McCaskill.
And John Campbell.
And this episode is being brought to you by Mentor Ohio Paranormal Research Society. We have with us here their founder, Dale Vokurka. Hi, Dale.
Well, hello everybody, and thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure. You tell everybody about your group, man. Let everybody know where they can find you and all that good information.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you can definitely find us on Facebook. We've got Twitter. We've got Instagram. All you got to really type in is Mentor Ohio Paranormal. Even on Google, you can type it in, and usually it pops up where you can head to our website, MOPRS.org, and that will take you directly to us and all the Facebook pages and all the social media accounts that we have.
Awesome. Now, John, I've mentioned Dale to you a couple of times. I've known Dale almost as long as I've been actually, quote, physically investigating the paranormal. Dale was part of the PROS family. Originally, it was kind of a family of groups that we had. It's the paranormal. What did it stand for? Paranormal Research and Observation Society, or something
correct.
like that. Yeah, and it was.
Yep.
We were all over the U.S. I met Dale when I was still SPI, Shreveport Paranormal, and when I moved up here, he was one of the first ones to invite me to come out and investigate along with him.
Yep.
Yeah, him and Levi, who we will be having on sometime soon.
Which, by the way, I hate to interrupt, but Levi is a freaking awesome guy, and yes. I'm so happy that I've learned so much from him over the years and been able to, show that the techniques and things that he taught me. And that's where I basically started. I started just like you, getting my feet wet just by learning from other people. And nowadays, you don't get that too much. You don't get people actually helping other people. It's more of people just diving in and not really knowing what they're doing.
Yep. That's how I started, was originally way back, was diving in, like, not knowing anything. And through the PROS family, I learned a little bit from everybody that was part of it. What was her name? Stephanie?
Yeah, Stephanie Dixon.
Yep. I don't know how have you talked to her in a while? I haven't met her. I haven't seen her in forever.
Yeah, she's actually, she got off of Facebook, so she doesn't have a Facebook anymore, but she does have Instagram, and I think she does still have Twitter. I'm not 100% sure on Twitter, though. But I know on Instagram, every once in a while, I'll message her, but she's doing really good. She was having a little bit of a health scare a couple weeks back, and I wished her well, but as far as I know, she's doing okay, and we still talk on occasion. We don't talk as much because she's not really into the paranormal as much as she used to be. So when she left Pro Family, she had some stuff happen on Facebook, and then she kind of said, you know what, I'm kind of done with Facebook.
Yeah, it's kind of a breeding ground for bad feelings.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot in the paranormal field, that's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of that drama just it irritates me. I remember, when I first moved up here, I think I told you about it originally. I had that when I did that investigation for that radio disc jockey, and just that was my first taste of the hate that some people have for other groups. And it was just like, she invited us, she put the call on the radio, I need a paranormal team. We answered it. Your team had the same amount of time to answer as we did. Yeah, it's not my fault that you guys didn't, and it just was it was a mess. But Dale has a place. Do you still have the lagoons?
Yep, we still do. We still go and investigate about once a year, actually.
Cool, man. I actually mentioned in the first episode about the old guy. Remember that experience I had?
Yep, I remember it very well.
Yeah. I told you about it in the first episode. I was at the lagoons, and we were all, Dale and... Actually, I have pictures from that night, but Dale and all of us were just standing in a circle talking. And somebody walked up and poked me in the back. like 3 or 4 times. And I turned around, it was an old guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, Dell actually. You told me who you believed it was. I forget.
Yeah, it used to be the caretaker of the property. If you would like, I can give a brief summary of the history of the property.
Yes, that'd be great.
That we know of. So the property originally was like a farm type of deal, but before that, it was, if I remember correctly, 1842. The property was bought, and shortly after the property was bought, there was a cholera outbreak that happened in the city. And a lot of people, unfortunately, passed away because they didn't really know a whole lot about cholera. So what happened is a lot of people passed away, and the people that actually owned the land, apparently out of the 7 people that owned the land, it was a husband, a wife, and 5 children. 5 of them passed away and were actually buried on the property. And there's a small little cemetery now. What we know is the actual cemetery is in Lake Erie. It was actually moved from where it currently is from the lake. They moved what they could, which I don't know if they actually found bodies or if they just found coffins and then moved them. But they moved them onto the property a little further in, and actually erosion has actually gone even worse. The cemetery is now even closer to the lake than it was, let's say, the last time you were there, Jamie.
Really?
Yeah, so I'd probably say in about another 10 years, that cemetery is probably going to be in the lake, back where originally it was. But yeah, the family passed away, and the gentleman that owned the property, from what I understood, basically sold the property, and then after he sold the property, a gentleman bought the property for his 2 children. His wife had also died. I don't know if she died from cholera or something had happened. But after his wife passed away, he bought the property, moved his 2 boys onto the property. One was older, he was in his 20s. The other one was younger, about 5 or 6 years old. And the little boy was on the back of the wagon and apparently fell off and landed on his head as he was coming onto the property. He didn't see him fall off. He got all the way to the end and realized that his son was missing, and took the whole night to find him, and early in the morning found him dead.
Ooh.
And shortly after this happened, his other son had been playing a card game with a couple people and was accused of cheating and was shot 5 or 6 times.
Oh, wow.
And after that happened, he sold the property to another person. It just went from tragedy to tragedy. And the reason that it's gone from tragedy is because it used to be Erie Indian Nation land. For those who do not know, Erie Indians used to basically, they were a very strong tribe in Northeast Ohio. And they had a thing where they had all these different lands that were for different, I guess you could say, groups of Erie Indian tribes. And when the settlers come in, the settlers, I guess, had fights with the Erie Indians, and a lot of them unfortunately died because of the fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sioux Nation, from what I understood, was the Erie Indian Nation was absorbed into the Sioux Nation. And I actually had a shaman come out to the property, and he explained to me that from what he understood from his ancestors, the property was there was a curse placed on the land that if anyone built or tried to build on the land, irreparable harm would happen to them. And he was very adamant that, don't go into the woods by yourself at night. And we learned very quickly that we got EVPs of Indian chanting and drums in the background. We've gotten EVPs of people. It sounds like there's screams coming from the property itself. And they're all stuff that we posted on YouTube. So it's kind of cool that, some of the stories that we know of the history of the property are, things that we can properly, say that we got an EVP of that. So
right. That's cool.
But yeah, that's basically, cool. It's basically the rundown of the property. I mean, there are a lot of deaths that were associated with the property. With the latest one that happened in the 80s, there was a bridge that collapsed on the property, and apparently 2 girls that were in a car fell into the river and ended up drowning. Right where the property starts. You probably passed that bridge, Jamie, and probably didn't even know it. But yeah, right there apparently. And I talked to a police officer who had been on the force for a very long time. He said he had remembered. I couldn't find any newspaper articles about it. But again, especially back in the 70s and 80s, a lot of things, a lot of things were not like put in newspaper unless it was like a very huge historical event, like a president getting shot or, a huge fire that, took part of a city down. That was the only time they really talked about certain things. Yeah, every once in a while you'd get a story, but, it's unfortunate that history wasn't always properly recorded.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So,
but yeah, I remember going out there, man. It was years ago. That's what, 2011, 2012. I came out there.
Oh yeah, dude, we got to go back.
Yeah,
they're calling for you.
I know. Like I've been talking to John about that. It's like literally.
Is it
John,
free or do you have to book or?
Nope, it's free. All you have to do is probably book the hotel that you would like to stay at.
Yep.
We cover everything that you need to. I even lend people equipment. If they don't have equipment, I bring them out, and I've got some cameras and recorders, and I just say, here you go.
You still do the lanterns?
I still do the lanterns, even though we've had people steal them in the middle of the night.
Yeah. It's literally a 5-mile walk from one side of that place to the other.
Yep. But with all the history of that place, man, it's literally a blood ground. And I like to say that because, we don't know exactly what happened, but according to everything we know, I mean, there was a battle that took place on the land. Not as extensive as, like, let's say, Gettysburg, but, a lot of people, something happened on the property, and I think that's where a lot of the dark history comes from.
Out there is where, John, I was telling you, out there is where I had the K2 hit. Like, Dale will tell you this. We were by the little graveyard, the little cemetery there, and, like, every time anybody would speak, the K2 would spike. Mm-hmm. Only when we were talking. We would all stand there quiet, nothing. The moment somebody was going to speak, it would spike.
Yep, and there's no electricity whatsoever to probably about a mile or so down where the entrance of the property is. That's the only electricity is over by the big buildings that are there. Mm-hmm. There's no electricity where we were at whatsoever. So for a K2 to spike, and then we get an EVP, that to me is cool as heck.
Yeah. That is. It's a really nice place. The only downside is, like, I'm not a big, like, outdoor investigator, but I loved it. Like, the whole night we were there, it was fun. It was a lot of people were there that day. We had probably about 20 people that particular day. I think there were, like, 3 groups there. There was your group, my group, and then there was another group there.
Yep, and they all had fun. They all wanted to come back, and we had one group, they showed up, and it was actually 4 groups, because the other group, if you remember correctly, they left. They left early, and we found out later on they got spooked. And that's because somebody was throwing rocks at them, and that's a common thing on the property, is that if you are disrespectful to the spirits of that particular property, you'll get stuff thrown at you. We had rocks thrown at several people, and whoever it was, I can't remember the name of the group, but they were a New York group, if I remember. They came out all the way from New York, or maybe it was PA, and they, within, I'm going to say 2 hours, they just took off. They didn't even tell us that they were leaving. They just left. Yep. And then we found out later on through an email, we left because we had rocks thrown at us and we just couldn't take it anymore.
I remember, like, there was a girl with us, when me, you, and whoever else was with us, that was saying that she was having rocks thrown at her too. But I think we saw, because we were me and you were looking for nuts on the ground, like, because we were under a tree or something.
Yep, that's what we originally thought, that whatever was getting thrown was something from a pine tree or something. And she had said that she got hit in the glasses with the rock. And we were looking all over, and we couldn't find. There were little tiny rocks on the ground, but nothing huge. Yeah. And we were looking around, and she got hit again in the back of the head, and she was pretty much over at that point.
Yeah.
I wonder what she did to disrespect them.
I do remember she had said that she didn't believe in them. And to me, that's kind of like saying, you don't exist. Yeah. And then that's when she started getting hit with stuff.
Yeah, that's been, like, what's sad is, like, how much of that I remember, because I remember a lot of that night. I remember the deers. Oh, yeah. Like, we kept seeing the deers out in the woods, and
Yeah, and that's weird too, because the deers, most deer, if you go up to it, as a human being, they have that instinct to run. No, they literally will just stare at you and not move a muscle. And you can literally get within like a foot and a half of them, and then they'll finally move.
Mm-hmm. That is odd.
Yeah, it was, and I have some I'll have to find them. I know I still got them somewhere. I had those pictures of it looked like something was coming up that pathway from down by the lake, away over on the other side near that gate.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like a little pathway down there.
Yeah, he picked up I don't know, it looks like a shadow person, and we got also a photograph that we took. One of my members at the time, I don't want to say his name because he actually went to jail for some really stupid stuff. Mm-hmm. But he was taunting. Basically, he was saying, you can do better, show me what you can do. And you can see him in this photo, and I'll have to send it to you, Jamie. It looks like a black picture. Like there's nothing. You can't see anything on the picture initially until you blow it up or brighten it up. And then you see all these shadow people in the background.
Interesting.
And you see all these little orbs, too, that are around him. And we could never identify what was that. It could be a camera malfunction. I mean, very much so. But what makes it interesting is that we got an EVP of his name being called and being told to shut up.
Wow.
So that's kind of like, okay, maybe this is something.
Yeah, definitely. That's... Did I meet this particular guy?
Yes, actually, he was there for that investigation. I'll say his name is Addy. Mm-hmm. You may remember the whole name. But yeah, he showed up for the investigation. He was there, multiple times before he got into legal trouble. And then unfortunately he basically left the group, and we've been around since 2006.
Yeah.
2008. So, long time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always amazing when you think about how long your group's been around. Because like FBI survived a lot. I think the only one left out of the group that you met is me. Jennifer. Jennifer can't anymore because she's of her health. But
yeah. And I still remember Justin. Justin was also always a good guy to us.
Yeah, he's supposed to come on the show pretty soon. We're going to have him on to talk about black-eyed children. Because he's like I remember when he came in, he was all about that. Like I asked him, I said, you still remember a lot of that? And he goes, yeah. So I don't know when, but he's going to come on our show pretty soon to talk about that.
Yeah, I remember with Justin that particular night that me, you, and Justin, we were in the middle of one of the paths, and he said someone had yanked on his beard. And he turned around, and he thought it was me initially, but I was a good 5 feet away from him because he thought I had pulled up from the side of him and actually yanked him because he heard what sounded like footsteps next to him. And I stopped because I heard a voice, and I didn't know what the voice was. And then he walked a little further, and then that's when somebody pulled his beard, and he goes, dude, why are you... And then he looked and then stopped, and then we actually picked up an EVP of turn around.
Wow.
Right after his beard got pulled. And we played it right there, and he was like, okay, that's unusual. And I think that freaked him out for a little while.
It did. It did. So everybody's had an experience there that I've...
Mm-hmm.
So what is this place called?
The Lagoons. Mentor Lagoons.
Yep.
Mentor Lagoons. Huh.
Yep.
So that's up there near
But you have to get permission. Yep. Yeah, it's right next to the lake, but you also have to get permission. And we take care of that because legally you can't go in there, at night because it does basically it's a park. It closes at a certain time, but we take all care of all the permission before anyone goes out. We make sure everything's legal, and we invite people usually once a year to come out and experience what we've experienced there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Did you ever find out about that book that that guy wrote about, and you were in there because it was talking about the lagoons?
We actually did. Again, I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to seem like I'm bad-mouthing them, but they basically said some things in the book that wasn't accurate, and I asked them nicely, to, change the word on it before they sold any additional copies, and they pretty much blocked me on Facebook. And, you know, and it's sad because, you know, somebody that I respected, you know, in the paranormal field for a very long time,
right.
and they felt that they wanted to write, you know, statements that were not true because it would make a better book experience for, and basically heighten the drama in the book. And, you know, you get people like that all the time that think that, you know, they have to embellish the truth a little bit just because, you know, they're more interested in money than they are in actually research.
Yeah.
You know? So, but no batting mouth to them. I just think that I'm more worried about research than I am making money. I got into the field because I wanted to be able to help people that had experiences and didn't know where to turn.
Yep.
And that's when I founded the group, and I said, you know what, I want to help out others that are going through what I went through as a kid. And, you know, it's just one of those things where I put so much time and effort into it just to help out people, and that's why we're a nonprofit group, man. We don't charge people that call us at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, I think my house is haunted. Can you come on down and take a look at it? We go down there, and we don't charge them gas money like some teams do. I know a lot of people do that. But yeah, we go and we do what we can, and we try to help out as best we can.
Yeah. The gas money is when I think I'm a little bit more lenient on. Like, I don't like people charging at all either. You know, it's like the way I do it is if they go, well, what do you charge? I'm like, nothing. But if you want to give me a donation, I wouldn't say no. And that's about. Like,
and that's the same. And that's the same thing too. Like if somebody says, hey, you know, we can make a pot of coffee for you guys while you're here. Cool, man. That's awesome. You know, but I don't sit there and I don't sit there and demand. Like, I've seen so many teams demand that clients do certain things for them.
Yep.
There was one team in particular that I'll always remember, and I told you about this, Jamie. There was one team that was demanding that they pay $500 for 4 hours of an investigation. Yeah, they were charging their clients $500 to do 4 hours of investigating. And that was upfront fee. You had to pay the whole thing before they actually came to your property.
Yeah, I don't remember.
There was another team. Yeah, it was a long time ago. And then there was another team that actually tried to join that they were actually charging members of their team $1,000 per head in order to join the team. Yeah.
Well, and I remember when groups were doing that, charging for people to join. You probably remember this, like back when I was doing SPI, and I had that one group that started up, and then they were like, well, why don't I ever hear about you? Why aren't you advertising? It's like, because there's no money in this. And the group shut down like the next day. They took their pages down.
There's so many people that I see on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter that, you know, they get into this thing where they think that they're getting into the paranormal field to make money, and that's not what we're supposed to do.
Right.
We are scientists. In so many words, we're just on the fringe of science. Mm-hmm. You know, we have a responsibility to the scientific community, in my opinion, to make paranormal research something special. And when we're talking paranormal, we're talking abnormal, you know, things that happen that we need more research into, you know? And, you know, a lot of people don't think that way. They don't think of the science aspect of it. They're thinking, oh, how much money can I make of doing this? And I tell people all the time, if you're thinking about getting into paranormal research for money, you're in the wrong field, man.
Yeah.
Yep. And then that's like earlier we were interviewing Dan Todd. Like he has his own paranormal YouTube channel where it's like a podcast basically, and he was talking about like how all these groups are starting up now just to get onto a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, they start their YouTube channel to make money, and I was telling John, and I was telling Dan as well, I was laughing because he was playing clips from some of them. And to hear them, like, sit there and they were, like, this one guy was going, well, demons do this, and demons do this, and demons do this. And then turns right around and goes, I don't believe in demons. And I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Well, wait, okay, you don't believe in demons. Do you believe in Bigfoot? Because he's right next to you.
It just was like, man.
Yeah, someone asked me the other day, they go, what was it? They were like, do you believe in Bigfoot, you know, Sasquatch? I said, yeah, that's my ex-girlfriend.
That's like this show
I swear,
here, man. This show here.
I was going to say, I swear, the face that person made, man, that was just priceless because it looked like they were disgusted, but also intrigued.
Yeah, Dale had his own podcast for a while. What was? And I was co-host for a little bit too. Was it Paranormal Chronicles?
Yeah, the Paranormal Chronicles. We were on TalkShoe, and then TalkShoe did this strange thing where they changed everything around, and then we'd have to reset everything, and we're like, you know what? We're just going to kind of chill for right now. And we haven't been on that in probably 5 years now, I'm going to say.
Yeah, something like that.
And yeah, and we did good. I mean, on one point, we had over 5,000 listeners on per episode. So I'm proud of that. You know, we had 5,000 people actually tune into us talking and debating and just having a lot of fun. I mean, my good friend Alan Mellinger, who we had on the program a lot of times with Jamie, was really cool. And we also had Marcus on there. You remember Marcus?
Which one was he? You might have to refresh my memory a little bit.
Marcus was the gentleman that eventually ended up buying the house in, I think it's PA, I'm going to say. Or he was trying to buy the house in PA. But his dad ended up trying to sell the property. I don't know if you remember Marcus Hag.
Oh, yep.
Okay.
I think I've got him on Facebook.
Yeah, so he was on the program, and we used to have fun with that, and I miss it. I really do. But I got a new podcast now, but it's not paranormal-wise, it's gaming-wise.
Yeah. Well, if you ever want to get into it again, man, and you're always welcome to come on here anytime, too. Because me and John started this one. This was originally a YouTube channel. Me and Tracy started doing it, Everyday Voices of the Paranormal, and she wanted to do something. I was like, well, let's do something together. So we started, and then we never could get our schedule lined up. And then me and John were talking, and I said, hey, John, what do you think about doing a podcast? And he was like, well, yeah, that'd be fun, you know? So I was like, well, I already got a name. We just, I've got all the equipment. We just need to get it done.
Yeah, I didn't listen to the last episode, but the one before that I actually listened to a little bit when I was at work. I really enjoyed myself. So you and John are doing a hell of a job, dude.
Thank you, man. We got the guy with the music, Joel. His music is top notch. It's perfect for the podcast. And but now the second episode will be up tonight. It's going to be on aliens. Because we're going to touch on a little bit of everything. Even though, let's say we may not believe in a subject, it doesn't mean we won't talk about it. And do the research and figure out well, what do people say? What are people saying about it? Things like that. We recorded today. This is number 4.
Yes, you guys have been busy.
Yes, we want to be ahead. That way we don't miss. Because let's say John gets sick, or I get sick, or
gone for the weekend or
something happens. We got an episode ready, and we get one out.
If Bigfoot decides to take John out for a date. Yes, I understand.
Or Jamie goes out with his Barbie.
Yep, pretty much. That pink sock called Misty.
But man, Dale, that podcast was fun. No, I remember one that always stands out to me was the guy from Hawaii that was talking about. Oh
yes, Gary.
Talking about the bad stuff with dream catchers.
Yeah, and then he went on to a spiel about how there are 2 sons in Hawaii, and I looked at him and said, "Are they twins?" And he just shut up for a minute.
It was that one. Unfortunately, I couldn't call in on. I don't remember what was going on, but I couldn't call into that one. And I'm sitting there at home. And I'm sending messages. I'm like, Dale, ask him this. Dale, ask him this.
Yeah, and I kept doing the same thing. Jamie would be like, ask him this, ask him this. I wouldn't. You could literally hear crickets in the background. It was so great.
2 sons.
Yeah, he was telling us all kind of. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it was. That's the one thing I remember, and it's just a damn shame that I can't recover those podcasts because they got rid of them when they changed over. But yeah, he was talking about Hawaii had 2 sons, and there was something to do with the end of the world prophecy, and that, because Hawaii is suffering this particular catastrophe, that we're all going to die. And, I'm like, wow, I mean, do you believe in aliens? Because, I'm pretty sure that's the next thing that's going to happen, It was just strange, yeah. It was just strange, everything that he was saying on live air, and I'm like, all right, I have to mute you, man. I'm sorry.
I was listening, what I remember was, like, I'm sitting there at home, and I had my hand on my face like this, listening, and then when he started on about the dream catcher, I went, why does he say dream catchers are evil? But then, like, Dale, ask him why he says dream catchers are evil. And I don't remember what he said. I don't either, but I do remember he's kept basically saying the same thing, and I kept asking him the same question. It went on for a good 10 minutes of him saying the same thing and me asking the same question, and he wouldn't respond to the answer. He wouldn't give an answer whatsoever. He just kept going to the same thing. So I had to change the subject, but yeah. It was great. If you decide to start that back up, we'll have to do it again. I could record it right here with this.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be live.
Yeah, I don't know whatever happened. I remember his name was Gary because I remember seeing the call sheet, because back then they used to have a thing where it would pop up the person's name that signed up. Mm-hmm. And then that's how you had to respond to the show. So he had to put in his full name. And I remember the first name was Gary, but I don't remember what the rest of it was. But I do remember it was Gary.
Yeah.
So, yes, John, we've been through so much together.
He went to the fire. He got to go to the fire museum.
Oh, I love that place.
He's been there.
Yep.
John's been there several times too. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think John's not his first official hunt, but his first hunt with FPI was at the fire museum, unless I'm wrong.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, in FPI.
Yeah.
I think so. Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good place. I never did hear. Did y'all get a lot of good evidence there?
Oh, you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We got. I remember the first time we went, when I actually got pictures with you from the fire museum. We got a couple of them from one in particular. I remember there was a lady that we captured on tape that said that the water was out, and we were trying to figure out what the heck was that. And then we found out later on from the curator that there was, where the EVP was captured, there was an old water tank that they had. And the water tank, there was, I guess, a fire that had happened, and the water tank ran out of water. Huh. And he was wondering if maybe we captured a residual EVP of someone talking about how the water has gone out. And apparently the building had burned down that they had used this particular tank on.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was the one that I remember out of all of them. But, I mean, there were a lot of other things. We captured a lot of orbs. We did capture some other EVPs that were unidentifiable. Basically, they were what you and me would call a Class H EVP, which is basically, it sounds like someone sneezing, but you know it's an EVP. You just don't know what is said.
Right.
But, yeah, that was the only Class A, if I remember, that we actually captured, from that particular day.
Man, yeah, that was a fun trip. That's one of the last few times I had Dennis around too.
Yeah.
And then James Rocky got to dating that one girl that was with you.
Yep. I was to say, I haven't spoken to him in a while. He was on Facebook, but I haven't seen him on Facebook posting, so I don't know if he's still on there.
I don't either. I wound up blocking him. Me and him got into an argument. I don't even remember what it was over. It was something stupid. But, yeah, I haven't talked to him in so long. I don't even... Yeah, the
last conversation I had with him was probably about 3 or 4 years ago, just before COVID. And we had a conversation about something paranormal. And the next thing I know, I hadn't seen anything on Facebook, so I assumed he deleted his account. And it was something trivial. It was a photograph someone shared, and he shared it. And I said I thought it was a camera malfunction. He disagreed with me, and I said, I respect your opinion, dude. Mm-hmm. And then that was the last thing I ever heard from him. So I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, I don't either. I got the...
Who was he?
James Rocky. You met him, I think. He had his own little group there. He would never join FPI. His group shut down, but he still investigated using the name, but he wouldn't leave. He wouldn't join FBI. And as much as we tried, like I told him, I said, man, you'd be perfect. Like he would have been tech, and Tim would have never had a chance if Rocky would have joined.
Yeah.
I don't think I met him.
I'll show you some pictures of him later. You'll probably remember him if you've seen him.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I mean, I had no problems with him. Always respectful. It's just, like I said, we had one disagreement. And again, I don't know if he just deleted his Facebook or if, he decided to walk away from the paranormal, which happens a lot in the field. You get a lot of people that they get into the field and they get into it for the right reasons, and then they kind of get out because they get burned out,
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
And then, of course, COVID, like that shut down a lot of groups to where we've been.
Yeah, I was going to say, COVID, it shut us down for almost a year and a half because we literally couldn't do anything with all the restrictions. And then my work schedule, I mean, I was working close to 70 hours a week. And, it just, COVID really changed the world for everybody, you know? And we all kind of felt the sting of being alone for the first time in a long time.
Yeah. In fact, you know what, man? Like, I'm thinking about it. When you have to definitely let me know when you want to do the lagoons again, and I could figure out me and John could make it up there and get to investigate with you again. Because like I'd like for you to meet John. I think you guys would hit it off too.
That'd be cool.
And I could bring this, and we could stop out there by that grave and do a podcast episode right there.
Yeah, I was just saying, not only that, but we now have live streaming equipment, so we can actually live stream it on YouTube if you guys wanted to, and do a podcast and a live stream at the same time, and allow people to actually call in and stuff. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be. Because this little setup I got here, like you see, you're on the phone, and it's just recording. It's just I call the radio disc jockey that recorded the intro for my ministry. He called it a radio station in my pocket.
Yeah. And that's how we used to do it with TalkShoe. Used to be able to record and get everybody, on their phone at the same time. And it was so convenient. And then again, they changed everything. But I mean, it was a lot of fun being able to do the podcasts. And now, with live streaming, you can reach a lot of people in a short amount of time. And now we have TikTok. So, I mean, TikTok is another one that I'm going to be utilizing a lot more. But, yeah, I mean, there's just so many people nowadays that we can reach that we couldn't reach back in the day.
True.
I mean, you only had, 3 really good avenues, and that was MySpace, Facebook, and Instagram. And that was pretty much it back in the day.
Yeah, Twitter was horrible back in. I remember when Twitter first came out, and I'm like, the limitations just hurt. It's like I can't even post a sentence.
Yeah, literally, I think it was 100 characters or 100 letters, and then that's pretty much all you had to work with. So you couldn't provide a link. You actually literally had to type in everything. And I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, this is dumb. I'm never going to use this." And years later, we're still using it, so it's kind of like, okay.
Well, I remember Facebook, when Facebook first come out, they didn't even have instant messages. So, if you talk to somebody, it was straight on their wall. It's like, I don't want to use this. I can't send you a private message.
Yep. Everything had to be broadcasted out into the world.
Because that was one, I thought MySpace would stick around, and that's basically for musicians now.
I knew one of the owners of that. And they sold it.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think Justin Timberlake actually owns a part of it, if I remember correctly.
Now.
And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, why would you... And then when they changed it over to music, I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. Yeah. I think that MySpace should have stayed the way it was because I think that's what really killed them, is that they try to distance themselves from Facebook too much. And nobody's on it. I don't know anybody that's on MySpace anymore, and that's sad because I actually met my spouse on MySpace, of all things.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you used to be able to edit your page, add music, background.
Dude, FPI's MySpace page was awesome. I had it
now it's like what he said.
Yeah.
You could could put a background on it. You had your profile picture. You had your own little playlist.
You could list your friends in a certain order.
Yes.
And someone
Yep.
would get so mad if you put someone else ahead of them.
Yep, the top 8.
Yep, I had
It
somebody.
was almost like you insulted people if you didn't have them on your top 8. You know, you had 10 friends and you had 8 people. They're like, why aren't I on your top 10 or top 8? And you're like, because I only have 8 spots, man. What the heck?
I think you were number 4 on mine because, like, I had Jennifer, and then I had Justin and Marla. I wish I could remember all of them, but I know that Dale was like either number 4 or 5, and Levi
Yeah,
was
I
the
think
next
you were
one.
I think you were 3. I think Levi was 4. And then I had my wife as number 1, and then I had another friend of mine as, I think, number 2. And, yeah, I don't remember the other ones. I mean, I could probably still look up the account because it's still there, but...
Wasn't there some
Man.
guy named Roger in pros? Because I think he was on my in my top 8. Roger.
Yeah,
Rojas.
Roger. Yeah, he was one of the guys that was responsible for the website, if I remember correctly, and also the social media aspect. He was basically supposed to be keeping an eye on all like the website and the Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And then he had a falling out
Yep, I remember
in
that.
pros. From what I understood, it was over the amount of time that he was dedicating to the group. And he kept telling them, look, I can't keep doing this. And they told him, you know, just stick it out for a little while. And he, I guess, had said something that he shouldn't have. And then that's when he ended up leaving.
Mhm.
So,
I forget what my position was. I know I had like a high position in the group, but
mine was the comedian.
Yeah.
Everybody would be like, Dale, what are you doing today? I am doing absolutely nothing. Is that a good job? Yes, it pays well. I don't get paid anything.
Exactly. I think I interviewed groups or something like that. I can't remember. It's been so long. I missed it though.
Yeah, they stopped me from doing that the one day because there was one group in particular. I don't remember who they were, but they called me and the guy goes, you know, I believe in the Egyptian gods, and it was something like he still believes that they were around. And I'm like, really? And I said, have you been to Africa? He goes, why would I go to Africa? And I said, well, because you believe in the Egyptian gods. I mean, you would probably believe in African gods or something like that. And he got really mad at me over the phone. And I said, look, we can argue about gods all you want, but all we know is there's just one.
Mm-hmm.
And he got so mad at me for it, and I don't know whatever happened. I guess he decided not to join the organization, and they were like, yeah, Dale, we don't want you doing that ever again. I'm like, okay.
I remember the guy who interviewed me. I don't remember his name, but I remember he was telling me about the tantric ghost hunters that he interviewed. They were trying to join Pro's family. They were a group that would go out to investigated locations, and they would have tantric sex there to get the energy up. I'll never forget because he was like, "Yeah, we didn't approve them." But he said, "He's like, it was interesting talk though."
Yeah, I was going to say, they probably had a little bit too much fun while on the job.
Probably. I
mean, I'm all for having fun when you're on the job, but there's a time and place for that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said they called it tantric ghost hunting. Ever since then, that's been a story I've told people thousands of times because I always it's stuck in my head.
Yep. I mean, there's so many people that tried joining Pro's family when we first started that, you know, I don't remember all of them, but there were a lot of good teams that we had in Pro's family and a lot of good teams that recruited into other teams that ended up not being so good. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, that's kind of the I guess you could say the nature of the beast. You know, where you get really good teams and you get really bad teams, and you just have to kind of weed through them.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So
I agree.
We had a lot of misses with team members. I mean, Jamie, you went through it. I'm sure John has, worked with people that he didn't necessarily agree with all the time.
Yep.
And there's differences opinions, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to learn to take the opinion as is. And my opinions are mine, yours are yours, his is his, and you just have to be respectful, and you have to say, okay, that's cool, man.
Yeah. That's right. That's like I'm supposed to be doing next weekend. I'm supposed to do an episode of somebody else's podcast, and they're wanting to talk to me about Paranormal Unity, and I was like, well, I'm one of the ones to definitely talk to about it, because that's what Pros Family was originally about before it had splintered, before it ended. So
yeah, and it's the funny thing is, right after it ended, I got so many messages from people, dude, you need to start Pros Family, man. And we did. We tried restarting it, but we tried getting the original website. We found out that somebody in Pros Family, I don't know who it is, or who it was, I should say, but they actually sold the website name to another organization behind everyone else's back. And they got a lot of money for it, too, from what I understood. And we were never able to recover it because it was something crazy, like $12,000 for the web page, where you link that particular page, and it was like $12,000 or $15,000 that they wanted. That they had auctioned it off for, and no one bought it because it was way too expensive.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
But yeah, I don't know what's going on with it today. I'd have to look that up, but I would imagine it's probably still unsold, because who's gonna think about buying an old website like that?
Yeah. If we ever did get it back, man, we probably could do it as a Facebook group. I know that much. Although Facebook groups is kind of hard.
Yeah, and it's hard to manage Facebook groups, but it's easier to manage multiple people in Facebook groups over trying to manage everything on a website.
Yeah.
We
wound up with a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, you have to do a lot of stuff. Like with our website, it's not 100% where we want it to be, but it's a work in progress. We've been working probably 2 years on the website, and we still haven't done everything that we wanted to do with it, So.
Wow. So you got any upcoming investigations or anything you could tell, like any interesting ones you could talk about?
Well, we, in terms of investigation-wise, we have actually been on a lot. In 2008, when we started doing house investigations, we probably did a good 200 to 300 of them, I'm going to say.
Wow.
And there was one point where, for, I think that first year, in 1 month, we did like 40 of them. So almost 2 investigations a day, I'm going to say, for like the longest time. Maybe not quite a month, maybe 2 months. But, I mean, it was a lot. And, now, we've come to the point where we don't do as many house investigations as we used to do. Mm-hmm. But we go to a lot of different places now. There's a lot of places that we know here in Northeast Ohio. We're actually trying to set up something. Actually, in October, I'm actually going to be doing it's like a charity event. The event is at an old place. It's called the Matchworks Building here in Mentor, Ohio. And it's on October, if I remember correctly, it's October 13th. It's Friday the 13th, which is kind of ironic that they decided to pull this. But basically, you come to the event, you can ask questions of my investigators and myself, and then we're actually going to do an investigation of the building. The building is over 100 years old. There was an actual train incident that happened here in Mentor. There was a train derailment, and a lot of people got injured, and a couple people died as a result of the train derailment. And a fire broke out and actually went through all the cars, kind of like the Ashbula train disaster. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Okay, well, there was one that happened in Mentor. It wasn't as big, but a couple people did die. And one of the stories that I grew up hearing about was there were 2 children that were walking home from school where the train wreck had taken place. And they were walking over some railroad tracks where the accident had happened. And as they were walking over the tracks, this really thick fog rolled in. And these kids explained to their parents that they could feel heat all of a sudden, like there was a fire next to them, but they couldn't see anything. And then they started hearing people screaming, "Help me, help me." I'm dying, I'm burning. And then the fog lifted and disappeared. And the police officers that went down there, they interviewed these kids back then, and they said these kids were terrified. There's no doubt that they saw something. And that event still, even to this day, there are things that get seen on the railroad tracks, which is kind of cool. We're actually going to the building where literally across the street the accident happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, October 13th, that's going to be a big day for me.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, just send me like a flyer or something so I can kind of advertise it for you over on our page.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would invite you, Jamie, if you wanted to come, man.
Yeah, if I can make it. That's on a Friday, though. I'll
you and John are welcome. Yeah, you and John are welcome to come on down. And I don't remember.
Mentor, Ohio.
It's in Mentor, Ohio. Oh. Yep. And if you guys want, we can all roll together, you know. Yeah, I think they're charging, if I remember, it's $5 a person.
That ain't bad.
And again, you come on down, you get to, go walk through the building. The building's huge. The building's 4 floors, and it's like, I'm going to say 8,000, 10,000 square feet, something like that. And it's a huge building. It's got a lot of history. It's over 100 years old. It's seen a lot of stuff, a lot of death. And, we've investigated a couple times. We got some pretty cool EVPs from it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. So definitely on my radar list this year.
If I can get that day off, I'll definitely try to see me and John can make it up there if he can make it too. But,
yeah, like I said, it's for a good cause. All the money raised is going to St. Jude's, and that's something that I'm very passionate about, helping out the kids as best we can, because there are a lot of people that unfortunately can't help out their kids, when they get cancer or something.
That's true.
And St. Jude's, they pay for everything. They make sure that those kids are well taken care of until the parents can't afford to pay. So that's why I help them out.
Yeah, it's definitely
a good cause.
Really good cause. All right, well, with that being said, bro, I think that's a perfect place to end it. I'm going to hang around for a little bit. Well, after we stop the recorder, we can talk for a little bit more if you want. But
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, if you can, again, tell everybody where to find you, and we'll get them over to you.
All right. Well, you can head to our website, MOPRS.org. That is the main website that'll take you to the Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, all that lovely stuff. I'm Dale Vokurka, founder of Mentor Ohio Paranormal Research Society. And thank you guys so much for having me on the program. Hopefully it was informative and funny at the same time.
It's always fun getting to have you on and talk with you again, bro. So
yeah, I love being able to joke around with everybody and having some fun. And, if you get into the paranormal field, you got to have a little sense of humor. That's because, we're all a little crazy. Let's admit it. We've all stepped over, and drank the really good Kool-Aid before, All
right. So I'll see you guys all soon. Thank you again.
Yep.
Has it been since I left this place?